Until she saw her son appear at her husband's lavish party, the woman realized how ridiculous it was to sell her toenails to raise money for the father and son surgery. Not only do they pretend to be poor to hide their prominent family backgrounds, but they pretend to have cancer at the same time to force women to choose one of them to be saved. They wanted to use this game to test who was more important in the woman's heart. Although the woman was just an ordinary low-level worker, she was unwilling to give up on saving any of them. To raise the surgery funds, she worked 8 jobs every day. One day, she was working part-time handing out flyers at a mall. Her husband took her son shopping with his ex-girlfriend. Without a second thought, they bought a watch worth $1 million. But the woman was selling their labor to raise $600,000 for surgery. At that moment, the husband's friend intentionally came to cause trouble. He accused the woman of scuffing his limited edition shoes. He demanded that if she couldn't pay damages, she must kneel. Otherwise, he would report her so she couldn't receive this month's wages. The woman, thinking of her husband and son still needing money for surgery, had no choice but to kneel and apologize. At this moment, the father and son watched coldly nearby, because it's all at the behest of a man. That friends make a point of throwing down a business card before they leave. The woman comes to address on business card to donate 10 toenails in exchange for $1 million. In order not to worry the father and son, the woman not only hid this matter but continued to care for them as always. They act like they really like chicken soup in front of women. When the woman leaves the ward, they immediately spit out the chicken soup they just drank, disliking the woman for only knowing how to boil chicken soup, such a cheap ingredient. After they finished their performance with the woman at the hospital, they threw a party at their villa that evening. They don't know that women work here part-time too. The woman inadvertently saw a photo of the father and son. She was about to lean in for a closer look when her supervisor suddenly called her away. At that moment, the man, holding his ex-girlfriend, began playing intimate games at the urging of the crowd. This scene happened to be seen by his wife. She could not believe that the man in bespoke clothing was her poor husband. To verify everything, she deliberately called her husband's phone, only to discover that the man really was her husband. Even more humiliating, she had now become a servant catering to this group of people. The man's friends mocked her for taking on any job to scrape together surgery funds. She even emptied food waste and served an incontinent old man. She finally realized that this was all a means for them to toy with her. Knowing the truth, the woman was extremely sad, but she couldn't understand why her husband, so wealthy, would not contribute even their son's life-saving money. Just as she wanted to step forward and ask for an explanation, her son ran over calling mommy. The woman, overjoyed, turned around, only to see her son fall into the arms of the ex-girlfriend. It turned out that mommy was being called to the ex-girlfriend. The son despised his biological mother who worked 8 jobs a day and instead looked forward to his father marrying his ex-girlfriend to be his mother. The ex-girlfriend took the opportunity to urge them to end this game testing the woman so the 3 of them could start a new life. But the son's uncompromising nature insisted on playing the game to the end, determined at all costs to prove to his father who was more important in his mother's heart. The woman never expected that she would lose 10 toenails for such a family. At